Hey guys, welcome to the new video. I hope you all are doing well. In today's video, we are going to discuss about how you can apply for your spouse or your dependent child to come to Canada on a permanent resident basis. So yes, we are going to discuss about how you can sponsor your spouse to come to Canada for their PR, and this is going to be a step-by-step process where I am going to screen share and show you how you can exactly apply for them, what forms you need to fill for them, and what you need to do and the entire application process. So let's start with today's video. Before we start, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead and subscribe as I make a lot of informational content which might be useful for you and your family. Alright, so before we go ahead and I show you what the steps are, let's discuss a few basic things. So the first thing is that if you are in Canada and you are a citizen of Canada or a permanent resident and you want to apply a PR and sponsor your spouse or your dependent child, you have to go through this entire process. But in order to do so, there are certain eligibility criteria. Number one is that you should be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. You should be above the age of 18. And then the person whom you are sponsoring, you need to take an undertaking. The undertaking means that when your spouse or the dependent child comes to Canada, you are sponsoring them and you sign the undertaking that you will be fully responsible for all their financial needs, for their housing, for the time period they are in Canada. Now the length depends on different situations. For a spouse, you have to sign the undertaking of at least of 3 years, which means that from the time your spouse is a permanent resident, 3 years from that time, you are fully responsible for their financial needs. So that is what an undertaking is, and this you need to sign in any situation. Now we will start with the video. The video is going to be a bit long because the process is long, but I'll try and cover all the steps one by one so that you do not have any confusion. And before we begin, I also want to clarify one thing. The sponsor is a person who is currently in Canada and want to sponsor their spouse, and the principal applicant will be the spouse who is in the other country. So for example, you are in Canada and your spouse is in India. Now the spouse in India is going to be the principal applicant and you are the sponsor. So take care of these two words because you are going to find them a lot in all the forms that you fill out, and different forms need to be filled out by either the spouse or the principal applicant or both of you together. So now let's start with the video. Alright, so the first step is you go to Google and type on the Google search bar for sponsor your spouse to Canada. And when you search for it, the first link you are going to see here is the one you need to click on. When you click on this link, you are going to see a complete guide of sponsor your spouse, common law partner or dependent child to Canada. Now this is a complete guide. This explains you everything step by step, and this is where you are going to begin. And before you apply, you need to know a few things. So of course, the first thing is that you need to know whom you are applying for, whether it is your spouse, your common law partner or your dependent child, as the application process will differ for all of them. Your obligations as a sponsor, we have already discussed that you need to sign an undertaking, and here you can read more about what the length of the undertaking is going to be in each of the case. For example, I discussed that for a spouse it is 3 years, but if you are applying for a dependent child, it is 10 years if the child is under the age of 22. Then in order to become a sponsor, you need to be at least 18 years, citizen or permanent resident of Canada. And then there are a few more details, so you can read all of them just so that you are well aware of what your obligations are. Alright, so these are all these details. Now let's see what else is covered here in these documents. So when you want to start, here are the 6 steps that you will need to go through. The first is to get your application kit and know what all forms you need to have and you need to fill. Then you need to gather all the proofs, the documents. The third step is to complete the application. Then you pay your fees. Then you check your application to avoid any common mistakes. And the step 6 is to submit your application. Now, I do have to tell you that since this is already a complete guide, all the steps are given very much in detail in this guide. So, if I scroll down here, you're going to start with step 1, where they show you what forms you need to fill. So, see, here is the step 1, which says get your application package. So, you can click here on get your application package and you will get the entire checklist of what all forms you need to fill. So if you click here, here is where you will reach. So now, here you can get your entire checklist. Now what you need to do is you need to fill out this form here which says who you are sponsoring. So if, for example, in your case, you are sponsoring your spouse, you click here. Then what country does the person being sponsored lived in? So they are asking which country does your spouse live in. If, for example, your spouse lives in India, you can just select India here. Now, you need to do this very carefully because according to different countries, the checklists are different. So you need to fill this correct so that you get the correct checklist. Then what other countries has the person you are sponsoring lived in? So you need to select if your spouse has lived in any other countries as well. If not, you can just select India. If there are other countries, you can click here and add another country and select those countries. Now, once that is done, just click here on get your checklist and forms. So here you will get your checklist and forms. The first one here is the document checklist that you need to download, and with this checklist you will know which are the forms that you need to sign. Under this you will also see that what are the forms you need to download and complete as a sponsor and what are the things you need to complete as a principal applicant. So there are certain forms that are needed to be completed by the sponsor themselves and signed by the sponsor, and some are going to be completed by the principal applicant, and or more details are given here. Alright, so let's see how the document checklist looks like and how you can begin with filling up these forms. If you click here on the document checklist, this is what the document checklist looks like. So now let's take a look on what the document checklist is, and I will discuss in detail how you can fill out these forms. Alright, so this is the document checklist, and you need to read the checklist very, very carefully so that you do not miss anything. And my suggestion is that as you complete each of the forms or steps, you just check it so that you know that this part has been completed. Alright, part A says that which are the forms which are required. So the first thing which is required is the document checklist, which is this checklist itself. And you need to submit this checklist also when you are finally submitting your file. The second thing is from the sponsor, what all is required. So the first form which is required by the sponsor is application to sponsor, sponsorship agreement and undertaking. And it also gives you the detailed description of who is to complete this form and who are to sign this form. So it says to be completed and signed by you. You here is the sponsor because in the beginning it is titled as sponsor. And the sponsor and the person you are sponsoring also has to sign it. A PDF of completed and digitally signed original document must be uploaded to your online application. So here is the place from where you can download this form, and a lot of times when you download it, it is not, you are not able to open it. So I would suggest just to save it using, right click and save it on your desktop, and then open it using Adobe Reader. So that way you'll be able to open it. Another way is, if you're not able to open it from here, go to the first link where you get where you see the entire guide. Go to step 2, which says gather documents, and here you will see all these documents. So the first form here is application to sponsor. You can right click here, save link as, and save it on your desktop, and then open it later using Adobe. So I'll show you how this form looks like. So this is the first form, which is to be filled by the sponsor, and this is IMM 1344. This is the form. So you will see here, this is a fillable form. You will fill the entire form, and once it is filled up by you, you will click on validate. So you need to validate all the forms after filling them, and only then you will submit the validated forms. Once you validate, you will see that there's a proper barcode at the end of the form, and that is your particular form, and you need to then upload it on your online application after signing it. All right, so this was IMM 1344. Then there are other requirements. Application fee, you can read out all the details of how you have to fill the application fee. Then you have the next form, which is financial evaluation form. Again, you can right click, download the PDF. But read every step carefully, because it says this form is only needed to be completed if if the person you are sponsoring has one or more dependent child. So if there is no dependent child, you do not need to fill this form. So please read these things carefully. Then the checklist after is by the sponsored person or the principal applicant. And the first part here is class of application. Here there are different classes. Now, if the spouse you are sponsoring is already living in Canada with you, maybe he's on a visitor visa or he's on a work permit, then you need to check this class, which is spouse or common law partner in Canada class. If they're outside Canada, then you have to select the family class. Then there are these forms, which is the generic application form for Canada. Now, this form you will not find a PDF for, and these forms are to be filled digitally and completed online. So this takes us to our next step here, and I'm going to show you the step. 1 second. All right, so when you see here in the beginning, you need to get your application kit, gather documents, and then complete the application. But where are you completing the application? Which is the online portal where you complete the application? So you will see that here. If you scroll down, under the details of the person being sponsored, you will see here a link to sign in or create a permanent residence online application portal account. So when you click here, you will reach here, which is the permanent residence portal. Now, if you do not already have an account, click on create an account and then create a username, password, and an account for yourself. If you already have an account, you can simply sign in here, because this is the account where you are going to submit everything, all the forms, and you are going to fill the forms also here. All right, let's sign in and see how the portal looks like. All right, so this is the portal. Submit your permanent resident application, and it shows the application process as well. And you can start a new application here. This will ask you which is the program under which you are applying. You can say family, since you are applying under the family class. Category under which you are applying is spouse. Subcategory is family class outside of Canada, and you can name your application anything. It can be your name as well, and then just click on continue. All right, so it says your application has been successfully started. Now here is the place where you need to create your profile. You write the preferred language, how you will need to get the correspondence. All your address, and then if you are submitting the document for any of the dependent childs as well, add the dependent child's name and then click on save and continue. So once you fill out all those details and you save the details, here is where you reach. So this is the permanent resident application form which you need to fill completely. So here it already mentions that you're applying under the family class and outside of Canada, and now you can see all the forms that you need to fill. So here you will see the digital forms for your immigration program. So these are the forms that would be filled by the principal applicant. All the forms to be filled by the principal applicant are here, and you will see that these forms are exactly same as the forms that you will see in the document checklist. So the principal applicant has to fill out the form IMM 0008 and then form IMM 5406, and you will see it here 0008 5406, and then there are certain additional forms as well. So these forms you can directly fill online on your portal by clicking on edit, and you can fill out these forms. And here the PDF forms are the forms which are to be filled in PDF, and those forms I did show you already. Either you can download them directly from here or you can download them from this guide where you can get all the forms as well. But do not confuse yourself. Just see here in the document checklist which forms you need to fill, and then once those PDF forms are filled, you can sign them and then upload those forms here. So once those forms also are filled, you now need to collect all the supporting documents that you require for your immigration program. So the supporting documents contain travel documents and passport, police certificates and clearances, photos, birth certificates, proof of status, and then there are additional supporting documents as well that you can submit. Other than that, there are additional application forms as well. So what is the meaning of additional application forms? Sometimes there are certain forms which you might not see here, but those forms are in the document checklist. And those forms might be there in the checklist because of the country from where you are applying. So those are the additional forms that you can fill in here in the additional forms column. If there's any form in the checklist, you can just from the drop down select which form is it and then submit that form up. You can edit it or upload it here. So once all of that is done, the documents have been filled as well, you need to upload the proof of payment over here. Then the declaration and the consent, you need to that form you need to start here, and once that has been also done, you can click on submit your application. So this is how the portal looks like. But basically the main part is that this thing needs to be done very carefully. All these forms which are listed over here, you need to download the forms which are in PDF format and the ones which are in digital format, you can directly fill them out on the portal. And once everything is done, just tick the box so that you know that the part has been done. Also, so that you do not make any mistakes, you will see at the end there is a proper checklist given which says that which form has to be signed by which individuals. So if it is the application to sponsor form, which is the IMM 1344, it has to be signed by both the sponsor and the principal applicant. The generic application form just needs to be signed by the principal applicant, and so on. So everything has been given very much in detail. Now, one more thing, if for example you are filling this particular form and you have questions, you do not know what exactly to write in this column, or the column which are a bit more complicated, what to fill in here. So this as well is given in the complete guide very carefully. So if you open the complete guide once again and you go to the section where you need to the section for gather documents, you will see here that everything is explained very much in detail. So for example, the first form, which is the application to sponsor form, you will see all the questions are explained in detail and what to fill in all of these questions. So if you see here, application to sponsor or sponsorship agreement and undertaking. So here all the parts, all the questions have been given, and there have been given proper notes of what you need to fill in each of the questions. And in case there are any general questions, they have already answered it here in the complete guide, so that there is no confusion. So since that was a lot of information, I do need to summarize it here so that if there's any confusion, it gets cleared right here. So the principal applicant or your spouse who is in the other country is the person who needs to create that portal, upload all the forms and fill the digital forms. He is the one or she is the one who is going to submit the application. Now, to avoid any confusion, I can recommend you that the first step you can do is to ask the principal resident to create that portal, so that you have the portal, you know what are the forms you need to fill out, or what are the forms which you need to upload and then upload. But it is also very important to see the checklist first, so that you know that which are the forms that you need to upload, as those forms can vary depending on the country from where the principal applicant is applying. So if there are any additional forms, do add them on the portal after filling them out. If you have come so far, I think the video might be of some use and some help to you. So please hit the like button. I have seen a lot of you watch my videos but are not my subscribers. So please subscribe the button. It takes a lot to make these videos, to research and then bring the content to you guys. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it gives me a lot of motivation. Share this video with your friends and family members who are planning to sponsor their spouse or their dependent children to Canada, as this might be helpful for them. If there are any more content or videos that you'd like me to make, please do comment in the comment section and I'll surely come up with more videos. And if you have any questions on this process, do ask in the comment section and I'll make sure to answer you. You can also follow me on my Instagram channel, as I make a lot of informational reels there as well. I wish you all the best in the process of sponsoring your spouse to Canada, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye guys.